You are the face of God. Each of you. I love that song. It's so beautiful. So happy to see you all this morning. I am Reverend Suzanne Grace, and I am just really pleased to be here and see all of you this morning. I want you to know that I actually visited the CSL Davis about 20 years ago when Reverend Gregory Toole was the senior minister. I don't know if any of you were there then. They met at the synagogue, the Jewish synagogue on Sundays, and I actually performed two solo sacred meditative dances as part of the service, which I used to do. I used to travel around. Instead of a traveling musician, I was the traveling dancer, and I would perform these sacred dances at different centers. That was a long time ago. But anyway, I remember CSL Davis very well. So it's like coming full circle. Now I'm a minister. Who would have thought I was on the pulpit dancing and now I'm on the pulpit speaking. So, wow, what a life. So again, thank you for letting me be here. This whole month in Centers for Spiritual Living, we've been focusing on emotions. And this is the last Sunday of the month. And also I want to honor today is Memorial Day, or tomorrow, whenever it is, and just to honor our veterans and all that, everyone who has really served our country. So blessings to everyone on this Memorial weekend. So the theme again this month has been all about emotions, and I know you've heard everything, so I probably don't have to say very much at all. And I also want to comment that the way you started this service today with the prayer and the songs and the meditation, the vision statement, all of that sets up exactly what you're in for when you come to a Center for Spiritual Living. It's such a, I mean, I don't really have to say a whole lot. It's already been said. So goodbye. No, just kidding. So thank you everyone who stepped in front of me and spoke the truth of why we come together. So my talk title was Got Joy? And I have to thank Billy for his great song, Joy Bank. That was just really wonderful. But got joy? Well, I have to admit, this past couple weeks, I haven't been very joyful. How about you? There's been a lot going on that's very upsetting. In light of what's happening in the world and in my own personal life, I had a very difficult week last week. I had a hard fall and I hurt my rib cage very seriously. And I don't know if you've ever had a hurt rib. It's not fun. It's very hard to breathe. I can hardly move, although now I'm doing a little bit better. So I wasn't very joyful. But I always can come back, thank goodness, to remember that I'm a choice. I'm in choice in how I respond to things. So no matter what's going on, can I remember to come back to celebrate this thing called life? Can I remember that there is joy of living? Can I remember to be in gratitude? And most importantly, can I remember to call upon God or the divine or spirit or source, whatever name you use for the God of your understanding? Can I remember that I can return to center? Because we have tools in the Centers for Spiritual Living. So when I'm off center, I don't know about you, but when I'm off center, I'm not a happy camper. No. So this whole last week with all that has been happening and just a lot, I have to go back to my faith in the greater good. Because we do have a chance to start anew every day. And I know, I really know this, when we individually, each one of you in those little Hollywood square boxes today, we each can choose to live from happiness, peace, and joy. When we do individually, we make a positive impact on everyone. And so how wonderful it is to know that I, as an individual, am a viable force for good in the world. I am a viable force for good in the world. Can you say that with me? I am a viable force for good in the world. Yeah. And this is about the reciprocal nature of the universe. So as we let our light shine, the world has to get brighter, more peaceful, and more harmonious. We have to do it too. So how are you doing? How are you doing? What kind of perspective do you have on the world right now? And in your life? You know, this month in the Science of Mind magazine, which was all about emotions, Reverend Dr. David Alexander had a wonderful article that I'm going to share a little bit with you. He says it's called The Emotions Are Pathways to Insight. And he says, I've adopted a practice of simply being with the first reaction or emotion that surfaces when I scan the world around me, whether that's through social media, the news, or my own observations. I simply be with what is, and I acknowledge it as it is, resisting any desire to turn away, ignore, justify, defend, or argue with it. Hear that. The result, he says, is an emotional practice as I find myself being with my anger, with my pain, with my heartache, with my cynicism, sarcasm, grief, sadness, worry, doubt. Emotions are our pathways of greater insight into what's really happening in the law of mind. When I have the courage, that's an important word, courage, to follow where they lead, I discover old beliefs, worn out ideas, and unconscious biases that have long been overdue for a thorough examination. Anybody? If you practice this, you'll be doing some heavy lifting in the field of mind science and consciousness work. And he says, feeling our emotions connects and reminds us of our humanity and our capacity for compassion, healing, and forgiveness. Yeah. So there are really no bad emotions. There's only unexpressed ones. Did you know that most emotions and sensations can actually move through our body in 90 seconds or less if we match the expression with our experience? So if we repress an emotion or recycle it, it hardens into what's called a mood. And sometimes moods can last for years. Oh, not you. Not her. I know, not now. Feeling a feeling all the way through means letting that feeling have a full cycle. So there's no such thing as spiritual bypass. When we feel our feelings, in less than 90 seconds, we just name it, you locate it, where am I feeling it in my body? You breathe into it. You can move. What kind of movement would it be? What kind of sound would it make? Does it have a color? And you can just allow it then to move on. Because feelings are just feedback. We don't want to push them away. We also don't want to park our car and live in them if they're not serving us. So we ask ourselves, what do I want to feel if I don't want to feel that? Because even in this time with these storm of emotions and dramatic situations that are happening, can we remember again and appreciate to come back to the center of our being, to the presence that is always there, never an absence? Because there, I can feel comfort. I can gather strength, inspiration, and guidance. When I hurt myself last week, the first thing I did was I called my practitioner. I called my reverend. I called the World Ministry of Prayer. I went immediately there. And that's that was a different thing for me from years ago. I would have just gone, oh, woe is me. And I bruised my ribs and my ego pretty bad when I did this fall. But thank goodness prayer brought me back. And Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind and religious science, said, we are divine beings on a path of eternal unfoldment. Life is always unfolding, isn't it? It might not be what we think it should look like. So I have a funny story for you about, I heard this interview from an author, a Jewish fellow who lived in New York, and he went down to visit his mother in Florida. And he had just written a book about happiness. And he went down to visit his mom, and he said, oh, Mom, guess what? I'm writing this book on happiness. And he was all excited about it. And she was kind of like the typical little Jewish mom, he said. Oi, what do you know about happiness? You don't know nothing about happiness. I don't know. I can't believe that. And he said, well, I have a couple exercises you can do to promote happiness in your life. And I don't want to do that. Well, I will help you and guide you through it, he said. So as the week he spent with her in Florida, every time she would kvetch or complain about something, oh, the food is cold, or oh, where's my sweater? Oh, turn the lights off. Oh, yeah. He would tap her on the shoulder and say, Mom, take a breath and say, my life is blessed. Okay. Oh, this food is terrible. And my life is blessed. So this went on for the week. He kept reminding her every time she'd go off, she'd tap her on the shoulder, and my life is blessed. Okay, I got it. So he enjoyed that. So he ended up going back to New York. So a week later, and I might not be telling the story exactly right, but it's my version. About a week later, his sister called. She was visiting Mom in Florida. And she said, what did you do to Mother? And he said, well, why? She's blessing everything, and she's much happier. And my life is blessed. So I have to tell you, I give this to my coaching clients all the time. I'm going to give it to you also. It's a wonderful switch. When you complain, when you find yourself or being frustrated or upset about something, you just pause and then you say, either out loud or silently, and my life is blessed. It has an immediate effect. Now, why? Because what Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith says, it energetically shapeshifts, right? It shapeshifts you. So he has a wonderful book, Reverend Michael, who I've studied with for years, called Transcendence. And it also was a CD. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but you can dance to it. And it's him speaking in his great language. But in his book, he says, bring your awareness to the power, the presence, and the love of God. And place your attention on the vibratory field, because as you know, everything is energy. Even the thought forms that you're having are units of mental energy. Emotions, energy in motion, right? So he says, energetically shape-shift your affirmative prayer, your meditation, your contemplation, whatever's not going right. Shape-shift it and begin to set yourself free. So you shift your attention. And he has a little ditty, he says, you might as well give in and be happy. You might as well give in and be great. You might as well give in and be prosperous. You might as well. You might as well. Have any of you heard this song before that he sings? So when you begin to take a stand in your own life, the idea is you no longer run from those areas of your life that you're embarrassed about or you're not happy about. You shift your clean, blessed energy, which is what I said about my life is blessed, into those areas that don't seem to be working well. Then you're a candidate for insight, for revelation, for divine guidance. Then you're a candidate for compelling right action. You might as well give in and be happy. You might as well give in and be great. You might as well give in and be prosperous. You might as well. You might as well. Boom. It's a great song. So the affirmation today that I sent in was, as I hold the high watch, my life is blessed. I'd like you all to say that with me out loud. As I hold the high watch, my life is blessed. And I'll explain what that is in a moment. So what do you think the leading cause of health and wellness is? Elevated emotions. What makes us feel sensations of closeness, happiness, and joy? Brain chemicals. There are 4 primary brain chemicals that drive the positive emotions that we can feel throughout a day. They're called the happiness hormones or the joy molecules. And I'm not making this up. This is science. You can find this out. So these are dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And I'm sure you've heard of all of these, right? So these are important neurochemicals that influence our level of joy because they're involved in our mood, our motivation, and our learning. Have you ever noticed when you're stressed out that you can't think straight? Anybody? That's why we do conscious breath, because when we do conscious breath, it brings the blood flow and oxygen to the prefrontal cortex and away from the reptilian brain in the back. It actually brings it forward so we can think clearer, so that we can make better decisions, so that we can come back to our center. So the joy molecules are so important to our good health and well-being. And there's easy ways to increase them. As we know, exercise releases endorphins, also helps with pain. Certain foods that we eat have a big effect on our hormones. Meditation, laughter, being out in nature, practicing gratitude. All of these things can promote what are called tonic chemicals to move through the body. So I'm really grateful that I'm going to give a little plug. I'm teaching a class for the Centers for Spiritual Living in 4 weeks in July. It's a Zoom class on the reawakening the chakras. And it's a great way to balance the energy centers of our body, which all relate to our emotions and chakras. So I'll leave a link somewhere where you can look into CSL's class that I'm going to be offering. So I want to do a little gratitude circle with you. So I invite you, if you're able, and I can't raise one of my arms very high because of my rib injury, but I know you can if you're able. I'd like you to just begin to raise your arms slowly up over your crown chakra and bring your palms together over your crown. And as you come down the Sushumna channel, the midline, bring your thumbs in front of your forehead and just thank your mind. Bring your thumbs down in front of your heart chakra. Thank your heart and your spirit. Turn your fingers down towards your body and just thank your physical body. Release your fingers down to the earth and raise your arms one more time. Inhale. We're going to take a circle over our crown and come down and in gratitude thank your mind. Come down, thank your heart, your spirit. Turn your fingers, thank you, body. And relax. And take a breath. It's a beautiful gratitude prayer. I do that every day. Smile. Let's see all those smiles. I know you've heard about smiles. I heard it. I know you have. And did you know smiles are contagious? And they boost your immune system because they release neuropeptides. And the cool thing is, when you smile at someone, their immune system is boosted even if they don't smile back. Let's boost our immune systems. Come on. I need it. When I was in such pain, I just kept smiling and saying, ah, ah. Oh, good. As I hold the high watch, my life is blessed. So we know that happiness is driven by a state of mind, consciousness, and awareness. And if we choose to live from a place of enthusiasm, it will lift our spirits and support everyone around us. What if we all put on our divine glasses? I was thinking about that this morning. What if we all saw through the eyes of love? Think about that. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Isn't that a song? I'm sure Billy knows that. So, are you willing in your life to move from your thinking mind so much into your feeling heart? Are you willing to have more of a heart-based living for yourself? Because our human experience does include joy and pain. It includes ups and downs. It includes light and dark. It includes both sides of the continuum and what's in between. And to experience both sides provides a greater appreciation for both sides, doesn't it? So Ernest Holmes said, the ability to control your experiences and have them result in happiness, success, and prosperity lies in your own mind and the way you use it. How are you using your mind? How's it working for you? So the high watch, that may be a new term for you if you're new to New Thought philosophy. But the high watch was called that because in ancient times, many cities erected tall towers along their perimeter in which watchmen were posted with the order to constantly be vigilant and observant, assuring that the well-being of the citizens was safeguarded from anybody invading. And because they were elevated in their tower and on duty around the clock, they were literally holding the high watch. And they could identify anybody approaching that shouldn't be there to close the gate if they had to. So think about that. When you struggle with a negative mindset, anxiety, or fear, be encouraged, as Ralph Waldo Emerson said, to stand guard at the portals of your mind. And one of my favorite Ernest Holmes quotes I do a lot is, I cleanse the window of my mind that it may become a mirror reflecting inspiration from the Most High. And both Emma Curtis Hopkins and Ernest Holmes knew and taught about the importance of holding the high watch, with the added understanding it's not only a mental exercise, but it's a spiritual practice as well. Why? Because we work from the premise that God is all there is. So the watchman signifies the awakened state of awareness of the presence of God, and the watchtower signifies an elevated and sustained state of consciousness. So with clear intention, when we hold the high watch, we see only, or we're willing to see only the presence of good, the presence of God. It's not always easy. That's why we have practitioners, because they support us in holding the high watch when we can't. That's why I called my practitioner right away when I stumbled and fell, because I couldn't I couldn't see it for myself. I couldn't see the good at all. And I do now. And Joel Goldsmith, one of my absolute favorite teachers, said, holding the high watch means to know that God is on the field. Yeah, to know that God is on the field. Somehow, some way, God is there. So take a breath with me. Your takeaways for today. I invite you to express and not repress your emotions, to breathe, to know that you can energetically shape-shift your perspective on anything. And happiness comes from within. Smile and hold the high watch and bless your beautiful, beautiful life. Let's take that into prayer. I call forth that infinite indwelling spirit within me, Almighty God within me, that which is truth within me. I call that forth, recognizing in this beautiful, holy, sacred moment of now, the one infinite, loving, eternal essence, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, powerful, loving, comforting, giving, universal, wise. And as this presence is in and through everything and everyone, I absolutely know it is in me as me, and it is in each of you as you, unique, beautiful emanations of ray, light. Each of you a ray of this light. And so I speak the word about each of us, that we stand on holy ground and we're willing to open our hearts to the truth of who we really are. And that we embrace this loving presence as our guide. And our life is blessed and full of more blessings to come because we return to our center moment by moment. So I know and claim for each of us today that there's a healing, there's an opening in the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, that everything is coming into alignment. Whatever needs to be expressed, whatever needs to be let go of is let go of. Whatever needs to be embraced is embraced. Right here, right now, it's happening. And we just smile. We open. We give thanks. And with such joy in my heart, I release my words, knowing they have power, knowing they are the truth. I release them with faith into the beautiful law that always says yes. So I let it be so, knowing it is done. So it is. Amen. Amen.